This is your first and only two-time dog heavyweight champion, Breaker Moran, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion, and I'm Kiki Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. Period. Power approved. Alright.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
The Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog, the Alliance Vlog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Alliance. That's me.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
I'm building an alliance.
What is up, everybody? My name is J Cal, and you're tuned in to the greatest. Well, you're tuned into the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm joined by my friend, Devin K. Mercer, known on the street as DKM. He's a brick house. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for hanging out with us today on this. Man, it's been a shitty Thursday, but hey, we're here, man. We're getting it done for you. And by proxy for us. We like hanging out with you guys. But this has been a very interesting week, to say the least. And I'm glad that I get to hang out with my pals here of the Alliance blog. We see that the chat is filling up. I see some of my friends are already there. Steve G's in the house. Willie Bowen is here. We see our, of course, DK is both helping to produce and watching the show. Willie Bowen's got our tire stroke of the week. Hey guys, Tires has to wash up in a swamp because he can't fit into a regular bathtub. Why would he go into a swamp though, Willie? Like, aren't there any rivers around? Lakes? My guy Sean Mega's in the house. Sean,
I think it's a swamp once he's done.
Oh, yeah. We don't give Sean Mega enough credit. Whenever I see Doty pop in, whenever I see, really, I guess Sean Mega, Doty, maybe even Pole Jump when he jumps in from time to time, the great Hisa when he jumps in. These are guys that have been, transcend the podcast. These were the guys who were on the message boards. Of course, so is DKM and Jaden. But, we used to do, before we did the podcast, we used to just have these long diatribes of posts on the message board back in the day, on the NWA message board. That became the Alliance message board because the NWA abandoned the idea. And now we don't have a message board. We have a Discord. You guys can join it. The link is in the video description here on YouTube. And if you're on Twitch or Kick, you just go to the Alliance blog, social medias, and you'll find a way to get there.
We all should.
Steve G said, "Where's Jaden?" That's a great question. He's on assignment. Sean Vega says, "Don't make me feel old, Jay." Yeah, but you were like 6 years old on the message board, so you're like probably like 36 now. I don't know. It's a long time ago. It's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
So we have been. Oh, Luthez. Luthez is obviously another one of those guys. The board is still up, right? But I think the last time somebody posted was like Fred Richards back in like 2018, 2021, maybe. I don't know. Sean, better to be old than ancient. That's true. Yeah, so the board isn't officially dead, but I think I took the link off the website just because ain't no sense in sending traffic there anymore. Should just all go to the Discord. I've been a very busy guy. I want you guys to know that last night, if you haven't seen it yet, we had a very fun conversation with NWA referee extraordinaire. You'll also can see him in the refereeing matches for New Japan on the East and Central Coasts, not Central Coast, the East Coast, and in the central part of the country. We had a good talk with Jared Fritz. I also had a very interesting talk with Ray Rosas that will be coming on this Wednesday. Ray Rosas, formerly of the United Wrestling Network. Yeah, and we talked a lot about what it takes to be a pro wrestler. Ray Rosas, for those of you who don't know, has been a United Wrestling Network Arizona State champion, one half of the tag team champions. I believe he held the television title as well. But he has stepped away from the United Wrestling Network. He is working with a promotion out here in Southern California called Millennium Pro Wrestling. They do a lot of, they do actually a weekly live event, and those matches end up on YouTube on Sundays. And he's also been responsible for training a lot of the talent there. One of the talents I know is one of Steve G's favorites, and that's Johnny Robbie is a student of Ray Rosas. I didn't know that till last night. But it was a very fun conversation. You want to tune in next Wednesday. It'll be up on our Spotify channel after, early in the morning, like at midnight. But Ray, Steve, we were actually, I did have Ray. He was on, he'll be on Wednesday on our Spotify channel. We'll eventually put those videos up on YouTube, but I'm trying to grow the Spotify channel right now. We've been, the back of the Alliance blog has always been the podcast, the audio format. And I don't want to abandon that completely. So that's where it has been home to, for this year anyways, for the interviews. We're specifically putting up interviews, and we might be doing show recaps on there. And Steve, if you told me that, I guess I forgot, because I'll be honest with you, I don't recall that. And when Ray said that the other night, I was both impressed and then excited to share that information with you, which you obviously already know. It's just like when my wife tells me something, like, I'm sure she did tell it to me, I just don't remember it. Speaking of wives telling you things, Jaden's here. What's up, Jaden? How you been, man?
I hate wrestling.
We've been stalling because we wanted to talk all the NWA with you, and we're glad that now you're here. We can finally do that.
Oh, great. Now you wanted me to be punished. Gotcha.
Well, speaking of punished, have you been keeping up with the Daredevil new season?
Yes. I still don't think it's as great as the Netflix thing, but it's pretty close. So
I was thinking the same thing, but go ahead.
Yeah. There are a few things that, they Disney-fy that aren't bad. It's not like it made it like, whatever, but some of the cinematography isn't as good, I think, as the initial, because they have a higher budget, so they'll need to get away with that.
Yeah.
But I'm very much enjoying that new Daredevil series. I highly recommend it for everybody. It may be one of, if not the best Disney Marvel show they put out.
Better than She-Hulk?
Surprisingly.
I too haven't been enjoying it. I'm only 2 episodes in. The ending of episode 2 was pretty dynamic, and I was like, holy shit, wow, wait, what just happened? I've enjoyed it. You know, I'm a big fan of all the Marvel properties, and I say that in jest about She-Hulk because I'll be honest, for about 85% of that show, I actually really enjoyed it. That being said, a lot of the Marvel properties I've enjoyed on Disney Plus. I really liked WandaVision. I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I liked Agatha all along. What's some of the other ones that I can't think of right now? The What If series have been fun, a little weird, especially the season finale. But I've more enjoyed what Disney has done with the Marvel product than I have not. There's very few exceptions of things that I think were just absolutely trash. DK, your thoughts?
You think I have thoughts?
You have opinions on everything.
I'm like you. I've only seen 2 episodes, but I've enjoyed the 2 episodes I've seen. So,
well, Jaden didn't want to talk about that, I guess.
Apparently we pissed Jaden off. So.
He's like, if you're not going to watch the show, then what am I even here for? It's like, that sounds funny because he doesn't watch Power.
Well, let me tell you, this week I wish I was him.
Yeah, well, I think we all might. I've had kind of a rough week. My phone died today. I just today got my truck out of the shop. It's been there for most of the month, and yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week, and I'm counting down the days.
Does it work?
Huh?
Does it work?
Oh yeah, it was not. So I have a Chevy Colorado, 2021 Chevy Colorado. It's a hell of a truck, and so I dropped it off on the Monday, like Monday the 3rd. On the 5th, they're like, yeah, we decided it's going to be here for a while. We're going to give you a rental car. I get to the rental place, it hurts, and I sit there waiting to be helped, and they're like, we're all out of cars. I'm like, well, the dealer just sent me here. And it turns out they gave me a Dodge Ram 4x4 2500. Beautiful truck. Biggest truck I've ever driven. Has all the bells and whistles. I love it. I'm almost like, you can keep the Colorado. This is awesome. But that thing ate gasoline like Jaden drinks energy drinks. And it costs a lot of money to keep that thing filled up. So,
same with me and energy drinks.
Yeah. And by the way, have you tried the Monster Black yet?
No, Monster's poison.
It's pretty good. Anyway, so I finally got the truck today. My phone totally bricked out. So I'm having one of those good days. Steve G, I don't think I'm going to be heading out to Chatsworth. What you got to understand is where I'm at right now, where I live, I'm closer to TJ than I am to Chatsworth. It's a 2-hour drive for me to get to Tijuana. It's like a 2.5-hour drive for me to get to Los Angeles, and that's without traffic. I was in Cudahy this past weekend for Epic Pro, a show that we supported here on the Alliance Guys podcast, and I had a great time at the show. But I left at 10 o'clock. I didn't get home till like 12:30. So it's kind of hard to make those drives, especially on a Friday night out to Chatsworth. That's just because it's not like I have a straight shot either to Chatsworth. I have to drive through LA, so it even makes it worse.
Nobody would drive through LA.
What I mean, like, look, and I get it, because I have been to DK's neighborhood, I have been to Jaden's neighborhood, and like, look, the traffic from going to rustic Glassboro, New Jersey to Philadelphia, it can be pretty gnarly. Rolling around those freeways in Dallas, I sat in traffic a lot, but until you've sat in true traffic in Los Angeles, like, you guys don't even know how good you got it.
See, in New Jersey and Philly, in that area, even in New York, it's not when it's stopped it's the problem. It's when you're moving. It's more dangerous and way more aggravating and frustrating to move in New Jersey and Philly, especially Philly, because there's Philly people don't know how to drive.
And Steve G says, I understand that. That's me going to a UWN event. Yeah, exactly. And I used to go to their the events that they did in where was that? The Ocean View Pavilion out there, and that was a drive too. That was like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. It was always better on the way home, but that was also on a Sunday, and there was never really any traffic problems. So anyway, that my day has been pretty rough. This has been a very long week. I'm very much looking forward to a weekend where I can relax. Oh wait, it's my daughter's birthday this weekend. I won't be doing that.
Well, it's not my fault you had kids.
Yeah, I know. But the good news is I won't be.
It's your fault.
Sure, blame me. What about me? What about Jason?
Okay, Raven.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Well, let me tell you what, Jay. You can complain about your bad week. You want to hear about my bad week?
You watched NWA Power?
I watched Exodus Pro. I watched NWA Power, which was one of the worst things I've ever watched. Now, notice what I said. I didn't say that it was one of the worst powers I've ever watched. I didn't say it was one of the worst wrestling shows I ever watched. It was one of the worst shows I've ever watched. There's nothing to qualify it. It was just horribly bad. And then it was so bad that just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I tried to watch AEW late last night because I couldn't sleep.
That was your first mistake?
Oh my God. Suddenly the NWA came across as Emmy winning television. So I've seen a few AEW shows over here. Normally I'll go, it's not my taste, or I don't like it, or it's not good to me, or whatever. No, I watched last night's and I found no redeeming qualities in last night's episode at all. And so the NWA got better just for having to watch that. So that's proxy. And so, I've tried to make up for it today because I've been watching some of the NCAA national tournament, not the basketball, the wrestling. And so I watched one guy come from, in the first period, he was down 10-1. By the third period, he was up 14-13, and then he won by pinfall. So talk about exciting. Talk about fun. And there were no stupid skits, and there was no boards with nails.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You like the boards with nails.
I saw the footage. I did not watch AEW last night, but I did see the footage, and that was 100% disturbing, and maybe the sickest thing I've ever seen in pro wrestling. I mean, I guess I've seen worse, but not on a national broadcasted television program. That was really gnarly, and I don't know the justification for that. I get it was a hardcore match, but like nobody can convince me that was a smart move in a pro wrestling match. And Jaden, I know that you've been in the business as a worker. You've been in the business as ancillary talent. You've been involved in production. You've helped book matches. You've helped book talent. Like, tell me, where does this make sense to you?
In all honesty, it's a black mark on the business, and it's one of those things that things have consequences. People, when you do actions, there's consequences to those actions, and that's the type of thing that somebody at a university or a charity or a school or something like that who may thought about doing wrestling will see, and then all of a sudden put a black mark.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is these people don't realize when they do this stuff, they worry about themselves. They care about what they're doing. They care about their cool spot or whatever the heck they're caring about. They care about whatever garbage, untalented stuff that they can do to make them feel like they're actually important and not just worthless parts of society that would be better off just walking headfirst into traffic. But No, they just do their own selfish things and don't care about how it affects anybody else. And that's the problem right now. And unfortunately, I know Dog was dealing something with that not too long ago, and may still be. I don't know. But that's the problem: is people do these things and they don't realize the consequences they have, and then they play victim when there are consequences. Or somebody tries to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find buildings. I'm trying to find, charities to work with, schools to work with, churches to work with, anybody to work with. And then something like that's on national television. I mean, I already had one building where the manager was all for it and the owner shut it down when he learned it was pro wrestling.
Dog still pays for Dennis Carluzzo's sins. Dog still pays for Chris Benoit's sins. Wow. Dog still pays for other shit promoters in the area doing things like leaving beer bottles in a building and that that has kids, or damaging the building, or bleeding on things they're not supposed to, or other things like that. And generally, Dr. Zirconium stays out of it and says, as long as it doesn't affect, just don't let it affect me. But in reality now, I think there needs to be a reckoning. I know it's so messed up, but sometimes you have to kill some good cells to kill cancer. And right now, this business is full of it. But DK, yeah, you're going to, unfortunately. You're going to have something that has nothing at all to do with you. Some promoter that has nothing at all to do with you, or something maybe not even pro wrestling related. The reason that Clayton High School Dog was trying to try to work back with Clayton High School again. Even after things had happened, they were looking to bury the hatchet. But something that had nothing at all to do with wrestling made it so they're making it so there's no anything now that rents that high school.
Oh yeah, I mean the owner, his problem wasn't even with wrestling. He didn't like the fans because apparently he knew somebody or had another building or something, but the fans threw shit everywhere at the wrestlers and the ring, stuff like that. And he was like, "Look, damn wrestling fans are crazy. I don't want them in my building."
And this is Texas, where they throw beer bottles at chicken wire while a band sings country and western.
Exactly.
Both kinds of music, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes at the same time.
Well.
So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't even mad watching it. It's, like I would say about Hunter Drank, Hunter Drank makes me sad. And it was almost like that watching AEW. It's like, this actually makes me sad that there's going to be 500,000 people watching this. And some are going to just, hold it, like Jagan said, hold it against the wrestling business forever.
Did I ever tell you about when I was trying to help Dog get a building, called a building, absolutely was so excited about somebody wanting to rent it. Would have been a pretty decent building. So excited about somebody wanting to rent it. The cost was good. Got to keep concessions. Would have been absolutely. Stealing was lower than I liked, but it was still pretty, good enough that it could have worked. Absolutely great opportunity until they found out we were doing pro wrestling, and they said pro wrestling, and then they basically cursed me out. Told me to F off. And then hung up on me. So they went from being extremely excited, and then I realized it was a building that's another promoter. I think actually Carluzzo ran in the past. And that's why they wanted nothing. But the vehement hatred and venom and vile nature that they responded, and the sound of their voice, somebody hurt that person. You want to go give them a doll. Where did they hurt you?
Yeah.
And that's what, unfortunately, we deal with. Anybody in the wrestling business, it's Not just, I mean, people would do their own sins, you know, and then you have to deal with sins of everybody else. Then you have to deal with stupidity of your own wrestlers.
There is a. I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. There is a building in down the street from where I live, the historic Kemet Theater. It's a building that's been around for over 100 years. It's like the original building, and it's been kind of relegated to being over the years. It's where they've done a lot of concerts, but not like real bands, but like cover bands, which is kind of cool because this isn't a big city anyways. But it was a building that I really loved because of the history of it. And I was going to reach out to them because just so happens that my wife knows the manager of the building. And I actually asked them, well, what do you guys think about pro wrestling? And it was kind of hem and haw about it. And before I could move forward, a promoter from San Diego came up, had that conversation, got that building. And surprisingly, they've run like 4 shows there, and now they're booked at least for the spring 2 times a month. And I'm hoping they don't screw it up. But I got to be honest, if I were to promote a wrestling show, it wouldn't be there because I wouldn't want to be associated with that brand of wrestling.
Add to that, it's a total piece of garbage douchebag maneuver to promote somebody else's building.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
As I flipped out at somebody today, a couple of days ago, I think it might have been yesterday. That was 2 days ago. I absolutely flipped out at a person because somebody decided, hey, you know wrestling. This guy knows wrestling, and they brought a absolute piece of garbage, waste of human life. Wish the hanger was a little longer so that we wouldn't have to deal with them type of person. And I let them know what kind of garbage he was. And everybody was shocked. Well, not everybody was shocked because some of the people know me. But a lot of people, especially the person who introduced me, thought it was going to be great about seeing a rep person in wrestling business talking to somebody else who knows a person in wrestling business. But guess what? That didn't turn out that way. And I let them know that, they are garbage. And I let them know exactly what kind of person they are. And that's what happens. I'm having a bad week. We're all having bad weeks.
It's the bad juju. Hey, and on top of this bad week, like, look, my wife said I could go to the Crockett Cup if I got 1,000 likes on my Instagram post. Do you want to know how many likes I have on my Instagram post?
133.
Did you just look, or is that legit?
Which one?
Say that again.
Me or DK?
You.
133.
What's your guess, DK?
174.
Okay. There is 120 likes. Okay. And that's with talent liking this, right? That's Joe Kazana. Joe Kazana Promotions like it. Plunkett liking it. My boy Bad Dude Tito liking it. That's with AJ sharing it. And I did the optics on it. I did the analytics, and it was seen by like 600 people, which meant like 80% of the people that saw that post just said "fuck you, Jay," which is hilarious to me. And I guess I won't be going to the Crockett Cup.
It's very plausible, though. The picture you use is just staring at your wife's boobs and not reading any of the words.
I thought it was a nice picture, and I didn't feel like it was too booberific. I mean, like, look, that's tame. If you go to her Instagram account, you'll see a lot more than that. Hey, but
but there's people that's out there that's more than they've ever seen in person. So
that's true. What's funny about that is I get to see him every night, so it's all good. Anyways,
it's all good.
You know what? I just brought a smile to my face. Thank you for helping me be cathartic and walk through that.
So yeah, you just blame your wife. It's all her fault.
Yeah,
she sabotaged your dreams.
Thanks, sweet vanilla. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, sweet vanilla Sensi.
No, we don't do the Sensi. That was for like a season. That's done. No, and for those who have been along with the ride for a very long time, we were a Sensi family. Wife was selling Sensi, and we'd plug it on the podcast because why wouldn't you plug it on the podcast?
It helps sponsor the original Talk NWA.
Yeah. Well, back then it was the Alliance Wrestling Radio, and you had to say it like that.
I never said it like that.
Well, you never said it.
That's true.
You know what I guess? You know what I want right now? Since we're talking about sponsors, I wish W would send me something because their shipping is expensive. I love the product, but I swear they have a markup on shipping. There's no way it could cost that much to ship that, to handle that, and everything else.
Yeah, and because you're on the other side of the country, they're in San Diego, so when they ship to me, it's not. I don't think my pricing is as expensive as yours, but I hear you. I need to actually restock my W because I'm running out.
If for some reason you do get lots of likes, maybe I'll reorder some W and just have you drop it off at your house or whatever. You just bring it with you.
Yeah, I'm sure nothing will go wrong with me smuggling a black container of white powder in my carry-on luggage as I fly to New Jersey or Philadelphia. Or
just put it
I'm
in.
not going to the Crockett Cup, Jaden. Nobody wants me to go.
Everybody share that post so he can get some more likes. You know, if Kazana Promotions shares it, and
AJ literally shared it on his stories and said 1,000. That's easy, and I'm like, no, don't jinx it, man. I went with a very realistic number, like 100's too easy, right? 1,000. Okay, that's a little challenging, but I have like 2,000 followers, so if just my followers liked it, I'd be good.
Put the link in the chat, and maybe we'll get some extra likes out of that.
Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. All right. Well, we of course the Crockett Cup is shaping up. If you guys are planning to go, please let us know here on the Alliance blog, so that we could celebrate you when you do go to Philly for the Crockett Cup. The 2300 Arena is somewhat of a mecca for pro wrestling. It's kind of funny because it was this week, I guess 2 years ago, that I went to my first Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event, and I went with after the show, Jaden and I hung out over in Philly, and we drove over to the 2300 Arena, and it wasn't open, but we got to. He took my picture in front of the building. I got to peek inside, and it was kind of like that. I felt like I was on hallowed ground, sacred ground, excuse me, and. Then just maybe a year later, we were there for the 75th anniversary show, and I think it's kind of cool that the Crockett Cup is coming to that historic wrestling venue.
But you really should have appreciated it when you witnessed it when it was an absolute dump, because it had a magic to it back then. That now it's got an ambiance and a nice, cool presentation. Before, you were worried about it getting tetanus just from sitting on, but it so had an energy to it that very few probably the Sportatorium definitely would have had, and I bet you the Grand Olympic Auditorium or the they would have had it, but a lot of venues just don't have that special feeling, and it's something you really need to witness. Hopefully one day you all get to experience something like that.
Well, I did get to go to the for me, I was able to attend some shows, some events at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. I was there when the ECW came to the West Coast for their one and only time. I think that was Heatwave in, I want to say, 98. I got to see that one, and then I was there for an XPW show. In fact, I was there for the show where Vic Grimes got tossed off the scaffolding by New Jack, but we left before that because we were going to Vegas that weekend. So we did an XPW show that night, then went to Vegas, and then the following Sunday in Vegas, we saw the World Wrestling All-Stars pay-per-view. If you guys remember that brand.
Yes.
That was a stopgap between WCW and TNA Wrestling, was the World Wrestling All-Stars.
With some NWA ties.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was a lot of NWA ties to that because Jeff Jarrett. They would later. I guess during that time when I went, there was no ties to the NWA because at that point TNA and the NWA hadn't started working together yet. But that was a tour company, and World Wrestling All Stars would start touring with some of the Australia, Europe, and I think they only did the one U.S. show in Las Vegas, but they were continuing to tour internationally and did book Jeff Jarrett as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and then had featured a lot of those, a lot of the talents that would later become TNA wrestlers like Chris Sabin, AJ Styles. A lot of they had some really good talent. It just I think it was maybe just a little too early, maybe a little bit too aggressive, and maybe if they had taken a slower route to getting to be a bigger company, it might have worked.
A lot of people too, they can start off hot and strong, but it's in a race. It's not how you start; it's how you finish.
That's for sure.
And
so
slow and steady wins the race, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. This Tuesday, I'm going to be going to the next United Wrestling Network TV taping. I still don't know when the matches they filmed will make television. I've reached out to Dave Marquez, but he hasn't given me a straight answer on that yet. I know he's still very actively pursuing local television here in Southern California. Excuse me. And I know that they have, there are still some networks that are broadcasting the reruns and the older episodes that they have been producing for the United Wrestling Network. But I think that they're getting close to putting the stuff that they filmed recently back on TV. So Jamming Music Man says, how long did WWA last? A year? And then you're going to make me look this up, but I think it was longer than a year.
Yeah, it was a couple at least. They did multiple tours in Australia and tours of Europe.
Well, because it was an Australian touring company. Like it was promoted by Andrew McManus, who I think was a music guru. But from it says 2001 to 2003. So, there it is. They have a YouTube channel and an X channel. Let's go see. What's on their YouTube? I know it makes for great radio, or great video, but
people.
Wow, they have the Inception pay-per-view and the Revolution pay-per-view. Oh wait, 30. Oh, they're just trailers. Never mind. That's disheartening.
People forget too. Back when they did that, Australia was a forgotten market, and it was an underutilized, neglected area of the world for professional wrestling. And WWA World Wrestling All Stars, they fit a niche for a while and did really well. The problem was it brought highlight to that, and next thing you know, WWE is starting to go there, and WWF, I think even at the time, I don't even think it was the E. And now Australia is a hotbed for WWE professional wrestling or sports entertainment or whatever, and other promotions try running there too.
And then when you look at again talking about WWA, here is who were their junior heavyweight champions. Juventud Guerrero won the title, his first one to hold the title. He was stripped of the title, but then regained it. Then Psychosis, Eddie Guerrero. I was there when Eddie Guerrero won the title. AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn, Chris Sabin. I mean, that's a pretty solid group of wrestlers. And when Eddie Guerrero won that title, he beat Juventud Guerrero and Psychosis in the same match. That was a fun match. I remember really enjoying that. And then the World Heavyweight Champion, the first champion was the Road Dogg Jesse James, which is bonkers to me. But back in 2001, he was very, very popular. He was over. The whole DX thing really had given him some positive momentum. Jeff Jarrett would win the title. Nathan Jones held the title briefly. Scott Steiner won the title. Lex Luger, Sting. And the title would get retired with Jeff Jarrett when he would beat Sting for that title, and then basically unify the NWA title and the World Wrestling All Stars title before that whole thing went down in a ball of flames.
It would be nice if things worked out well and the NWA was able, maybe if somebody with a lot of money was able to take the NWA and do similar things that AEW did and unified a bunch of titles to solidify the strength. Imagine somebody who had Tony Khan's money, but somebody who actually had a book and run a company, bought the NWA, and then bought MLW wasn't around at this time, but some will say bought TNA and Ring of Honor and unified those titles into the NWA title and used the top wrestlers that were around in that and any free agents, what the NWA could have been.
Yeah, well, and like just going back to Australia because we're talking about it, there's a promotion that does this touring like in the spring and I think in the winter, and they'll do like 4 or 5 shows, and it's usually like in a week or two, and it's just it's about 6 or 7 days of wrestling in maybe a 10-day span, and they'll bring in talents from all over the U.S. I mean, Brian Cage has been on many of those shows. Luke Hawx, I think, has been on those shows. Matt Cardona, Alexander Hammerstone, Nick Nemeth. They will book whoever they can to get on these shows, and it's usually like an all-star cast, and then they blend that in with the Australian talent. And it kills me that the NWA hasn't figured out a way to do something similar. If they were to bring the NWA over there and make that an NWA like promotion, right, and get that rub from any value that the NWA has, and bringing in some of those all-star names that could compete, on the Indies and the NWA and in Australia. And I feel like it'd be so beneficial for them. You bring in somebody we haven't talked about him in a while, but Chris Masters, who, even though he has left the NWA, I mean, that guy's still getting booked in Puerto Rico. He's still a big deal internationally. He does a lot of stuff with Qatar Pro Wrestling, and he's regularly booked for the Stu Hart wrestling promotion, the Dungeon Championship Wrestling in Canada. And, and then a guy like Harry Smith, that guy is going to go spend the next 5 months in All Japan Pro Wrestling. But wouldn't it be amazing if the NWA could have him on that downtime,
Or even if maybe they could work something special out and have a wrestling event and a Smashing Pumpkins tour.
I mean, they already did it. There's a blueprint for it.
Yeah.
But, I digress. I'm waiting for DK to get back so we could talk about Power, but I know he might be dealing with a son or a dog. Or there he is. By the way, did you get your car back?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Oh, I got it back. And my back. I need a new one.
You need a backotomy?
Oh, I need something. My back's been giving me pain. Apparently it thinks it's Jaden. Belongs to Jaden or something.
Yeah, I can't give you a body part that doesn't hurt on me. And I've been back at the gym, so it's even worse. By the way, since this week I've had 11 times back at the gym since the beginning of March, and I've worn IHWE shirts. I've worn more than one Alliance-Wrestling.com shirt. I wore a dog shirt, and I've worn a Chance Profit shirt, and I wore a I broke Wahoo's leg shirt.
I love it.
So, but fortunately, nobody can see it because I also wear sweatshirts. But I do take them off. Some people, whatever. But I'm definitely doing a lot of sweating and working out, and I hate Bosa burpees.
You hate what?
Bosa burpees, the little half ball that's called a Bosa ball.
Okay.
If you do burpees with them, it significantly modifies how difficult they are and how much they make your life miserable.
Yeah, I'm out on that. Sorry.
You don't have Bosa ball where you're at your gym and don't do burpees?
I don't do burpees.
Nobody should, honestly, in their right mind. But
I did enough up downs when I wrestled in high school that I never want to do anything that closely resembles an up down, a sprawl, or anything like that.
I had a damn good sprawl in wrestling. It was one of my It was one of my signature maneuvers. Nowadays, if I might be able to sprawl, but I'm not getting back up.
I was. I don't know if the vernacular transfers from the West Coast to the East Coast. Did you guys do a move called the lateral?
Possibly.
So you would do an overhook and an underhook. You'd fall back and then use all of your hip to just kind of flip the guy over. I've heard some people call that a souffle, but I'm like,
it's a suplex. Suplex.
All right.
The proper pronunciation is a suplex, and yeah, it is. It's a underhook suplex.
So I used to do that move any chance I got. That and a fireman's carry. If they left those hooks out there, I'd grab them. And to my detriment, my senior year, my last wrestling match, I was wrestling this guy, and we were at our city. It was a CIF tournament, which is basically like the city tournament. I had this guy. I got my underhook. He gave me the overhook. I threw him, and as I hit the mat, my back went out, like completely went out. It went numb. I mean, I knew I wasn't paralyzed, but I could not hold this guy down for a pin. So my whole team was like going crazy because they're like, holy shit, Jay just threw this guy. And I got the takedown, but I didn't get any near fall points. Guy gets up, we get up again, and I'm like, all right, I just gotta let him tire himself out, and I'll let him shoot on me, and I'll sprawl, and I'll be good. I've got this match won at this point. And that guy just puts his arms out there and gives them to me again, and I couldn't help myself. And I grab it up, and I lock it in, and I throw him as hard as I can, and my back goes completely numb this time. And I lost feeling in my arms, I lost feeling in my legs, and he just bridged me up and over, and I could not do anything about it. And my coach was, what the hell happened? I said, Coach, everything went numb. And that was the last time I ever wrestled.
It wasn't even comfortably numb.
It wasn't. All right, let's talk NWA, right?
I'm sorry. Was I unmuted?
Yeah.
I'm going to mute myself, so you guys have fun.
There's a couple things that I think we need to talk about. And the first thing is let's be perfectly clear. Billy Corgan isn't just bad on commentary. He is literally burying the brand every time he speaks. And I mean, I was so surprised, and I'm going to play this. I don't know if it's going to come out clear. You guys were watching Power. You heard him say this. This isn't doctored footage or audio, but
NWA business before we get to your main point there. We are at NWA Shockwave. We called it Shockwave for a reason. And by the way, NWA Shockwave is the name of the promotion that we have here tonight because NWA Shockwave is with the NWA. And you do the math on that all you want. Okay, now moving on.
Did you guys hear that?
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Did anyone understand whatever the fuck he was trying to say?
He was trying to say that Shockwave is Shockwave, but Shockwave is Shockwave.
You can do the math on that any way you want. What does that mean?
Well, the promotion is NWA Shockwave that's there tonight. So apparently, when the NWA is doing a show there, then they're NWA Shockwave, and Shockwave is NWA Shockwave. Was it a thing to Tony Khan because Tony Khan had filed for AEW Shockwave, the TV show on Fox that never happened? And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, that was the saddest thing about it is that that's not unusual for the way he sounds.
It was one of those things where I literally stopped, rewound it, and I must have missed something. I heard him say it, and I'm like, that sounds like nutty. What did I miss? Let me play it again. And that was right during the entrance of Frank, and we'll talk about that in a minute. and I played it. And that's exactly what he said. And I played it again. I literally listened to it like 3 times on X, which probably gave him like another 10 views. And I was, what the hell was he even trying to say? And I recorded it and sent it to you guys, Jaden and DKM, because I was like, maybe I'm having a bad week. I haven't been sleeping very well. I'm feeling like I'm not going to get to go to Philadelphia for the Crockett Cup. I've been waiting for my truck to come back. My phone died. Like, I must have heard this wrong. Please tell me what he was trying to say. And I don't know. It's your point, DK. Like, maybe he was trying to clarify that they're calling this event Shockwave because they were Shockwave before AEW was. But I almost felt like someone was paying him to say Shockwave because he got it in like 6 times in like a 7-word sentence, and it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, it's NWA Shockwave because you're sending shockwaves throughout the NWA, and you can do the math on that. Like, there's no math to do, but maybe some grammar, right? Maybe some comprehension, maybe some public speaking classes. Billy, what the hell were you trying to say, my man?
How old is Billy?
That's a great question. I'll find out for you.
Well, the reason I asked this is I have this one.
He's 58 years old.
58 years old. I have this one elderly relative who, when they talk, they seem to have a need to say things 3 times. It'll be like, for lunch today, I had the potato soup because I was hungry for potato soup. And that's what I had for lunch, was the potato soup. And you're like, so you ate potato soup for lunch? Huh? Got it.
Wait. I figured it out.
I mean, they do that with everything. They say everything like 3 times.
I figured it out. Billy Corgan's Mojo Jojo.
That's it.
From the Powerpuff Girls.
That's it.
Go back and look that up. You'll understand that reference.
I know what you're saying.
A Mojo Jojo is a monkey, not a person.
Roswell says no one was confused about Shockwave, NWA, and anywhere else. Yeah, it feels like he was. I don't remember one person saying, hey, Billy Corgan, you shouldn't call this show Shockwave because, AEW is filing for that trademark. I mean, look, I think as loyal NWA audience members, we remember that during the pandemic, they reclipped old episodes of the Primetime Live and rebranded it as NWA Shockwave with some really terrible graphics and silly voiceovers. And it was basically just what they had produced on Primetime Live on Triller TV with Dave Marquez, in a relationship that Billy, jettisoned because Nick Aldis was unhappy about TV time. The whole thing is kind of aggravating. And when you have to watch a piss poor product along with this guy who's so narcissistic that he thinks he needs to be on commentary, but unlike someone who actually has skills, it's come to my attention. Let's look at this from a global standpoint, right? Like, I don't expect Billy Corgan to put the NWA ahead of his family, right? Like, he's got a wife, he now has 3 kids. Congratulations, Billy. He's got a nice family. That's great. That should be his paramount, right? That should be the most important thing in Billy's life. Then, obviously the Smashing Pumpkins is what pays the bills, Smashing Pumpkins is how he puts food on the table. And whether we like it or not, Smashing Pumpkins is what has kept the NWA alive. There were dark times there when at the end of that Bruce Tharpe era, I don't romanticize any of it. There were some dark times in the Bob Trobich era of the NWA. When Billy bought the NWA, we were excited because it felt like there was going to be something incredible and something, dynamic with it. And honestly, we thought there'd be an influx of cash because that's kind of important for pro wrestling. The NWA, since Billy's bought it, is still a part-time pro wrestling promotion. And you cannot convince me otherwise. They run 1 to 2 times a month. They don't have a TV show. They don't even do pay-per-views. their attendance might be nice in Dothan, Alabama. Their attendance was nice at at the ECW arena. I don't know what the attendance looked like in those co-promoted events with Championship Entertainment Productions. The Tampa TV tapings don't look great. I was there in Nashville. It was an okay crowd. The pay-per-views, the hard time, excuse me, not hard times, the Crockett Cup in Nashville was a success. They looked really good in St. Louis. They had a pretty good crowd there too, but it's still just a part-time wrestling promotion. And for Billy, like, is this even the fourth most important thing to Billy? Family, right? Smashing Pumpkins, Madame Zuzu's tea house in Chicago, Highland Park, whatever side project he's working on as a musician, whether it be Zwan or just Billy Corgan solo. And then on top of all that, I know he does charitable work in Chicago, and I'm not taking that away from him. But now he's doing the podcast, and it's like that guy is spinning more tables, spinning more plates than I think he should, right? And the last thing we need is not only are you booking this show, but now you're getting on commentary and trying to explain your awful, terrible booking, and it's very nonsensical. Like, this episode really kind of put me over the edge, and DK and I were talking.
He doesn't even seem to like his own booking.
Yeah, and we were.
It's like the only time I agree with him is when he's criticizing his own booking.
Yeah, and it's like you sit there and you listen to him, and he's talking about the triple threat match with not a triple threat match. It was a hair versus mask match, and we'll get into more of that later. But he talks about why Ocasio was the special referee, and Danny Dills points out, like, I feel like Ocasio is gonna, he's more concerned about taking care of his business than your business. And then Corgan says, like, well, whose interest do you think he has in mind right now? Why do you think I put him in the ring? We don't fucking know, Billy, because it doesn't make any sense. So I was less than pleased with this week's episode of Power. And we're going to get to it right now.
Here's the thing that annoys me too. You could still feed his ego to the best interests of the NWA and get something more out of it. He's not even doing that right. He's not even using himself to the fullest potential, and not even. I could find ways to actually probably make his ego even bigger, and make him even happier, and still use it to maximize its ability, his name power, and his anything he has to offer. Way more beneficial to the NWA than anything he's done with it.
Do you remember during the Bruce Tharp era that every single match had to be said, these matches are sanctioned by the director of the National Wrestling Alliance, Bruce R. Tharp? Do you remember that?
Yes. Every television show, every whatever they put out there. Sanctioned by the NWA and President Bruce Tharp.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Why did you sound like Fred when you said that, Jaden?
Controversy. Sorry.
And then so anyways, as this, there are ways to feed his ego. Like, he could be around to be there for the moment when it's a world title match. Maybe he's the person that makes those in-ring introductions. Maybe he's the guy that holds the belt in the ring and presents it to both wrestlers. There's ways that, Billy Corgan could be used as the celebrity that he is. I think putting him on commentary is doing nobody any favors. I don't think he's good at commentary. I don't think it doesn't punctuate the broadcast any. Like, I don't know people who are like, well, I don't care for Power, but I go and listen just because you get to hear William Patrick Corgan talk. No one's saying that.
You know who I would pay to listen to talk if he was talking about the NWA?
Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, probably too, but I was going to say his brother Bill Burr. I would love to hear Bill Burr on commentary for the NWA.
Bill Burr would kill it on commentary. Hey, you got this guy. What's he doing? That's the worst Bill Burr impression ever.
Yeah, it was.
He's very like, hey.
That was a worse impersonation of Bill Burr than Dave Dahl impersonates a pro wrestler.
this week's episode of Power starts off at a ribbon cutting ceremony, which is kind of cool. Like I didn't have a problem with the setup here, right? It was very high school teen drama type stuff where, Carson Drake was lurking in the background. Why am I not next to Latimer? Why am I over here on the right? And he's there with his the bigger of the two slime ballers, Sage, and I don't remember the other guy's name. Sage wasn't there. Tommy Rant. There you go. You got Rant.
I think.
No, you're right. When you said it connected. And then you've got Hunter Drake, who don't know why this guy is hanging around at all. He's there with Kenzie and Kylie, and Tom's talking about the importance of fitness and how much he enjoys going to the gym, and it's kind of a cool little moment. And then you have everyone kind of break off, and the teen drama ensues, and Kenzie's mad at Kylie because she brought Hunter, and then Kylie and Kenzie's dad is Mr. Henry. I think his name's Chris. Chris Henry's talking to Latimer about the threats that Aaron's making, and it was very high school drama. Just didn't. I could appreciate the fact that they're trying to do things differently, right? I could appreciate that they're trying to do some better storytelling, but I feel like this is an improv class that hasn't had any classes yet, right? Like someone said, all right, talk about this and just go with it. We'll film, be natural. There's no script. It just feels like they're throwing stuff out there, see what sticks,
Yeah, there's nothing less natural than these skits.
No.
What I am close to you on the concept, but I would say this is more like, I remember in 6th grade, we had to create a commercial for a product.
All right, let's
hear it. It didn't have to be a real product, but we had to create a commercial for it. And we did ours based on an old Saturday Night Live skit. But we did Willy Wonka's edible chocolate detergent. And we argued whether it was a chocolate topping or whether it was a laundry detergent. And that's exactly what this seemed like to me. It seemed like a group of 6th graders getting together and saying, here, write a skit.
I think that might be generous.
Okay, a bunch of 3rd graders.
All right. So, again, I'm going to say I do appreciate the idea that they were trying to do something different here. I can appreciate that they were trying to tell the story in a little bit different way, but this just didn't hit.
I don't even appreciate it. It was so bad.
All right. I mean, look, that's fair. I'm not going to convince you. There's no way I can convince you this was a good idea. I think that the approach, I think the idea is good. They need a better execution. That sets up one of the interesting things I noticed. I guess I didn't pay attention to last week. So there was no theme music. There was no entrances. The matches, we joined the program as the matches were just about to start. So I guess that's kind of cool in a sense that it shortens up the TV time. So if they wanted to include more content, they could. But I don't know. I do kind of miss having the theme music when the stars come out. We start off with the hair versus mask match with Alex Misery, who is subbing in for Lev, taking on Gags with a special referee and Joe Ocasio. And this seems to stem from some altercations that they had back at the Tampa TV tapings. I honestly don't remember, to be perfectly honest. I don't see why we're spending precious TV time on things like this. This is ancillary. This is YouTube exclusive. This is not, if I'm trying to sell the NWA as a place for you to watch pro wrestling, this is not that. This is bullshit. And I think Alexander Misery is kind of a fun guy to watch. And, even though I don't like the gimmick, I really do appreciate and enjoy the person behind that mask in Gags the Gimp. Joe Ocasio is a big brick house dude, and I know they're pushing him as a junior heavyweight, but that guy, He's a big guy. And, you know, DK said it lots of times in the past. In a vacuum, it's not bad. In a vacuum, it's not bad. This match was actually kind of entertaining when they were actually wrestling and all the slapstick stuff was not being, you know, used. And when Ocasio was acting more like a referee instead of an enforcer. But this wasn't it. And, you know, I feel like this is like a 5th or 6th level tier product. If this was on my local indie show, if this was the main event, I'd leave before the main event. You know, this isn't something I would have paid for. If this was the headline, I would not have showed up. And it just, you know, you're advertising. Somebody's losing a mask. Somebody's getting a haircut. They didn't deliver on either one of those promises. In fact, the end of the match came about, you know, after these two guys have been beating the shit out of each other for a good, you know, 5 minutes. Misery goes and grabs a kendo stick, and then he hits Joe Ocasio with it, knocks Ocasio down, holds a stick down on Ocasio, literally like choking him out with the stick, and then you see Gags the Gimp from outside grab another kendo stick, which why do we have 2 kendo sticks in a match? It wasn't no DQ match. And Ocasio's on the ground, and then Billy, of course, being the insightful genius that he is, says, somebody should stop this. They should, or no, the Galley said someone should stop this. And Billy says, well, nobody rang the bell yet. Because the referee is being attacked, Billy. At what point was he going to tell the official to call the match? You know, he is the official. So, but just more stupidness from Billy Corgan. And, you know, so then Gags comes in the ring with the other kendo stick, and it looks like he's gonna defend Ocasio. Instead, he hits Ocasio in the stick, who shouldn't have even been up at this point. Like, he was literally being choked with a stick. He gets up and he's ready to fight Misery, and then Gags and Misery double team him with the kendo stick, which seems to mean now we're gonna have this triad of Lev and Misery and Gags the Gimp, all of which I don't really have any excitement for whatsoever. Like I said, Ocasio seems like a good talent, but this, I think, is wasting that. And by and large, I feel like this was just a giant clusterfuck and waste of time. D-Cam, what did you think?
It was a giant clusterfuck and a waste of time. And you're nicer, too, to me. In isolation, I didn't think this match was good. And not only that, this was literally the longest match on the show. And, man, I felt it. And it wasn't good. It didn't make sense. It didn't deliver on what it was promised. I don't care that Ocasio got attacked because I don't really understand why he's in there as the referee. And so, I mean, just the whole thing is, it was bad. It was stupid. It was nonsense. It made no sense. It told no story, or at least not one that you can comprehend. And one of the things with these skits, they're doing these skits, so I guess in order to do the skits, they've gotten rid of interviews.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to come up again here later with another match.
Yeah.
But it's just like, so Billy can't explain his way out of anything. I mean, he doesn't even understand what he's saying, which we proved by that clip that you played. And it's it was just bad. Absolutely bad.
Some other things I want to point out that I heard here too is he said something like they were talking about Gags and him losing the mask, and he goes, and if we're to believe the Sinister Minister, Gags has never seen his own face. He's worn that mask his entire life, which means at some point, and Billy's twisted logic here, somebody, either Gags' parent or somebody who kidnapped Gags, slapped a gimp mask on him And, I don't want you guys to go Google what GIMP masks are usually used for, but that just took a really dark turn as far as I'm concerned. It made me a little uncomfortable. Like, Billy, why are you thinking about this stuff? Why can't he just be a guy that wears a mask? Why does it have to be so icky? I don't know.
I have some thoughts, but I won't share them.
Please don't. I've already cussed too much for this show, and I don't want to be demonetized. Anyways, this was garbage. Again, I felt like they could have done this in a more meaningful way if you wanted to create a reason for these guys to be wrestling. I mean, it could have been, and they said Lev was missing, which is fine. They could have done a match with Lev and Misery taking on Gags and Ocasio, or it could have just been a straight up triple threat match: Ocasio, Lev, and Misery, or Gags and Misery. But putting him as the official in the match, and you said, I don't even know why he was the official. Well, Billy didn't even know why he was the official. He asked Danny Dills, well, why do you think I put him in the ring? And Dills couldn't even give him an answer. Not a logical one.
Which is pretty bad, because Dills is normally pretty good.
And I like Danny Dills. I think he's part of one of the best parts of the broadcast.
I will say that there are times on commentary when Billy's saying something that you can almost hear in Dills' head him going, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I noticed that I'm watching the numbers, and some of you guys might have changed the channel because we're being a very hard on the NWA, but I feel like this is warranted. Next up, we get the Southern Six promo from the Legion of Doom. It just felt very cartoonish too. Like, again, they're in a bar, and Kerry's talking about how we did it, fellas, we did it. What exactly did you do? And maybe he alluded that that's the Southern Six bar, like that's they own it. I don't know. It was very, again, the acting's not great. Kerry, I feel like struggled in this, and normally Kerry's, as far as I'm concerned, pretty good on the mic. This felt like again, maybe they should have rehearsed this a few times. Maybe they should have done a few takes, because if this was something that they practiced and this is something they did multiple takes for, and this was the best one, that's problematic. What they were saying was pretty funny though, because Kerry was bragging about his victory over Wrecking Ball Legursky, and really that's a big win for Kerry Morton. Wrecking Ball Legursky is a guy that's so much bigger than him, and although Legursky had 0 wins as a singles wrestler in 2024, he's still a threat. He's still a big guy, and Kerry got that victory over him. Silas Mason starts going deep on this pseudo rivalry with Colby Corino, talking about how he beat him at 76, and then he beat him again. And what was great was then Silas starts running down Colby for being a second generation wrestler who's living off the morals of his daddy, never accomplished anything in the business. And Kerry said right there, like, wait, hold on, man. And that was kind of funny to me, because it did plant a few more seeds of distrust and maybe.
Well, did you hear what Kerry was talking about earlier, or were you just taken back by his atrocious acting?
Explain tell me what you think, and I'll let you know if I knew what you were thinking.
Kerry was talking about how he beat, this big man, how it didn't matter how big they were. They all fell to his knee and stuff like. So he was basically saying how he can beat the big, strong guy, and things like that. Well, of course, he's right next to Silas.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest wrestler in the business, or whatever he calls himself.
I guess I missed that one.
Yeah. They were basically they took shots at each other by taking shots at opponents. That when you kind of sit there and go, wait a minute.
Yeah. So I totally missed that. And that's a good call out. That kind of makes me like the skit a little bit more. But it was still kind of dumb. And you had that same bartender from last week. And he's like, looks like you guys need some shots, but then didn't get him any alcohol. And even they call it out like, are you going to get the glasses or not?
Put some in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I don't mind cheesy, right? I don't mind them trying different things to see what works, especially now. They're not on TV. They're flying under the radar right now. I don't think as many people are watching them today as they were back in 2019. So it's okay to try these things out.
I don't think as many people are watching them today as they were in 24.
That could be true too. But it's okay to try these things out. But you got to really kind of, if you're going to do it, you got to commit to it. Not on one take. You make sure it's good. And that's a problem. Like, make sure it's good. Don't let these guys go out there and do something that you're not going to be proud of, right? Like, I can't believe that Billy saw that and said, that's a hit. I love it. You know, it's like, maybe someone should be there to direct them. Maybe someone should be there to write the dialogue for them or practice rehearsing with them or something. But it does feel like improv class. And I don't know.
Do you know what the worst part about this skit was?
Yeah.
It had the potential to be good.
I felt like that too. I did.
And I think that's what bothered me the most about this one is I saw all the potential of how this could have been a really good skit if it had been laid out a little bit differently, if there had been a little less comedy with the bartender or something like that, and especially at the end, or you know, they could actually act.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a big ask.
Alex Taylor and his apparently he's the love guru now. and so, but yeah, I mean, it's like the basic concept, the basic idea, you know, the thought. I'm still not saying it belonged in wrestling, but it could have been good. There were the building blocks for good, but God, it sucked. I mean, it just sucked.
Yeah.
And I think that's more offensive. When something, when it's bad, like the first one, the gym opening or whatever it was, when it's bad, it's, it's like, oh my gosh, that's just so bad. You don't know what to say about it, do about it. It was just a disaster. But when you go, it could have. I don't know, Jaden, what do you think about just that thought? Is it worse when something could have been good?
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. The problem is there's often things that look good on paper that when on execution, they just don't work out. And partially it's because what the promoter's trying to get across is not able to be absorbed or understood by the people that are executing his vision. I mean, look at how many movies that should have been really, really good, or TV shows that should have really, really been good, but something just was off. The acting. I'll use Batgirl as an example. The original season of Batgirl, they had the KK one on WB. Yeah. The idea of the show should have been great, but the actress who they picked because of the message and not because she was the right actress for the role, she fell very, very flat, and that show suffered tremendously because of it. And that's what's right now I think is happening with that is sometimes there's something that just does not work right. And that's where a good producer comes in. Producers, now that you're doing something that's a pseudo television product, you should have a television producer, somebody who understands wrestling and understands television. And there's not a lot of them left right now in the NWA or in the wrestling world that are actually worth using. But if you have one, they are an asset to cherish and make sure you do everything you can kind of keep. So if you guys are looking to hire, I'll probably get fired quickly because I'll tell my opinion, but I'll take a big paycheck in the meantime.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll all, 30 and a half minutes working. That leads us to the next match, again, which I had very high hopes for, which was the Money Birds versus Tiffany Nieves and Miss Star. Now, the Money Birds, I mean, I guess it's a little on the nose, but they're money. They're so money they don't even know it. It's Gigi Ray and Monica Monroe. They have great look. They're very athletic. They look like a tag team, and they should. They work tag team wrestling. I guess they formed in Mission Pro, but they've been regulars for Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. They've also appeared on AEW in the past. So this was a big opportunity for them. I get they are from the Texas area, the Southwest region, if you will. So this was a big moment for them to shine. And their opponents were two people kind of down on their luck at the moment. Miss Star just lost the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles at Looks at Kill with Ella Envy. Ella Envy split after losing the title, so it was like she's without a partner. Then you got Tiffany Nieves, who her partner has been on the shelf for quite a while now, since the last Crockett Cup. So now you got Tiffany Nieves, who took a really bad loss at Looks at Kill from Markova. She took that missile drop kick off the top of the cage. Both of them have a lot to prove in this matchup. So you think it would be good, right? You've got Tiffany Nieves having a lot of rage in the match, a couple of times screaming and yelling at Miss Star, which was not unlike her tag team pairing with Reka Tahaka, except for Reka Tahaka is very early in the business and Miss Star is a former tag team champion. Didn't make sense to have, somebody who hasn't won gold in the big time for the NWA. That's the other point I want to make is Billy referred to Miss Star as you have on that corner an NWA World Tag Team Champion and somebody who holds a regional title. And the way that he said the regional title, and maybe I'm putting more emphasis on it, and I'll have DK share his thoughts on it too, but it sounded like he was marginalizing a championship within the NWA, and he didn't even acknowledge which territory it came from. DK, what did you think about that when the boss called it just a regional title? How did that make you feel?
I think that was a Freudian slip on his part, and that it showed us something that he probably doesn't really want us to know, which is that, in all honesty, he doesn't give a shit about the territories. I think it's a gimmick for him, and a regional title. Not, hey, she's the Exodus Pro champion.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it in a demeaning way.
Yeah.
He said it in a demeaning way that she was the champion. And it's just like, or that she was just some regional champion. Now she's probably a better talent than Miss Star.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And by saying probably, I mean she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it was like, okay, I don't get it. I mean, Billy, your colors are coming through.
And I feel like it would have made more sense if they're going to do that kind of, if they're going to acknowledge that, then shouldn't she be carrying that title on television? That was my first instinct. And then secondly, like they didn't, with all the storytelling that they were trying to do, they missed the boat on why did they put these two as a tag team? Why, that's where they could have put a spotlight and it would have made sense. These two are in a match. Why are they wrestling as a tag team? Have they decided, hey, look, you're a former champion and I want nothing more to be a champion again. Let's work together and try to get those tag titles. Like there was no explanation. And that, to me, like that's probably a bigger crime than having 3 skits with, talking about the world heavyweight title that none of them really I don't know. Again, wasn't thrilled with this matchup, or excuse me, wasn't thrilled with this show. This match, though, we say it again, in a vacuum, it's a pretty good match. I actually thought the Money Birds were really good. I felt like Samantha Starr had a little bit more offense than she should have. I feel like Tiffany Nieves, La Princesa, is filled with rage, and she gets angry very quickly in the match and is, very aggressive, which is, I mean, I guess you want your talent to be aggressive, but she's very aggressive in the match. And, it was the distraction. It was Miss Star going for her DDT, her signature move that should have ended the match. And Nieves grabbed Miss Star's feet to hold him on the ropes to gain that extra leverage. The referee saw it, and that because of that miscue, the Moneybirds were able to take advantage of the distracted the distracted opponents in Nieves and Star. And while they were bickering, Star was able to be rolled up by one of the Moneybirds, and that enraged Tiffany Nieves even further. Now, I guess the biggest problem that I have with this matchup isn't who won or how good or bad the matchup was. It's that the NWA does advanced match announcements. And so we know that at Hard Times that's taking place this weekend, Tiffany Nieves and Miss Star get a shot at Kenzie Page and Big Mama for the women's tag team titles. But wait, they just lost their match at the show in Texas in the Shockwave. Why does this happen? Why isn't that the Moneybirds in that opportunity? Or why wasn't the match billed as a number one contenders match and having those two go over? Now, I will admit that they could maybe fix this later by having an official match for the number one contenders between those two teams. But on the surface, doesn't that look kind of like bad booking?
Yes.
Very.
And under the surface and above the surface and in a fourth dimension.
I can't wrap my head around if you were not going to keep the Moneybirds around, because I don't know if they're even booked for Hard Times. If you're not going to use them, then why give them the win in this match? What story are we building here? We don't even know why they were teaming. They've already lost. I don't care about them as a team now, except for they've got a shot at the women's tag titles. How did they get that? Did Aaron Stevens give them a title shot? I don't know how this is happening. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I mean, look, this is another situation where there's no interviews, there's no backstage stuff, there's nothing going on. We don't understand things. Billy makes no sense when he talks, so he can't explain to me why they're a team. So this is one of those, did the right team win? Well, theoretically, you'd want the tag team to be able to beat a non-tag team. But then that tag team should be getting a shot at the world titles. And so I have a feeling that Tiffany and Star may win a number one contenders match, but it probably won't be against this team. It'll probably just be some other team they throw together or something. It just doesn't go together. This is one of those things that's kind of sad. It was the shortest match on the show. A show that had Gags versus Misery. This was the shortest match. Gags versus Misery was the longest match. This was the shortest match. It probably had the best in-ring action, which even at that was only average. It's just that the rest of the show was so bad it stands out more.
I thought that they were a good tag team, though. Like I would like to see more of the Moneybirds. I feel like, that's what the NWA needs is more good women tag team wrestlers.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. I go, this, in some ways the right team won because this is the team you would expect. This would be how you would, quote unquote, build a team up to challenge for the world titles. But that's not who's challenging for the world titles at the next event. The losers are challenging for the world title at the next event. And I don't know, have they had anything? They haven't had another big show in between.
They did have TV tapings, though.
Yeah, I was going to say they did have taping, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's just really, really bizarre.
And like I said, there might be an underlying story that we're not introduced yet. And I get it, like things have to play out, but because the TV is so far behind the live event and you're advertising the live event because you want the fans to be excited about it, but it just neuters whatever story you're trying to tell while we're waiting for the next 6 weeks of television to get caught up. It doesn't make any sense. And wins and losses should matter. A tag team that loses shouldn't be getting a title shot, but we've seen it happen in the NWA. We've seen it happen. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Billy, has these plans and doesn't book the talent, right? And then he's like, oh, okay, well, for hard times, make sure you get the Wonder Twins, get them over here. And they're like, oh, they're already booked that weekend. He says, oh, well, then give that match to the team that they lost to, or the team that they beat. I don't think there's a lot of rhyme and reason to some of this stuff. And I wish there was.
Yeah, I don't fully get it. And, well, I don't get it, and we'll just leave it at that.
Double D, Devin Dowling, has a great take. He said, we had the Renegade Twins, didn't use them right. We had the Hex, didn't use them to their potential. We had Smiley Kylie, underutilized her. We had Chelsea Green, should have put the Burke on her. I don't argue with anything that Devin Dowling just said in that post.
I will make a couple of title defenses. I mean, not title defense, couple of defenses. Renegade Twins came in and they were leaving right afterwards. There was already interest in them by AEW. So, putting the title on them and taking the title off them a day later, whenever it was, they were just using that to spur interest in the tag team titles. They weren't sticking around. Smiley Kylie had some of her mental health issues twice while wrestling for them. So they never, even if they were somebody who built people up, which they're not, they never really had a chance to do anything with her. I don't know. The Hex held the titles for a long time. That's the first champions. Probably had more title defenses than, than most of the other teams.
Yeah.
I do kind of agree they didn't use Chelsea Green right. But this is one of those. Camille was such a strong champion. Do you take the title off her just so that Chelsea Green would have had a run? And I get some of this from all the times I've listened to Jim Cornette, and somebody goes, well, so-and-so should have been world champion. It's like, well, okay, not going to disagree with you, but who do you take the title off of to give them a world title run? Because, during Hulk Hogan's first title reign, you don't take the title off him until you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And, during Ric Flair's title reign, you certainly don't take the title off him for any length of time, unless you have to. And so it's one of those. It's easy to say somebody should be champion, but it's not always easy to work that in. So I will defend on those issues, but I mean, let's be honest. The NWA doesn't use anybody right 97% of the time. So even if some of those issues hadn't been at hand, I'm not saying they could have used it right.
Is there anyone on the roster that they're using right?
Is there anyone on the roster they're using right? Right this very moment?
Yeah.
No.
Like
no. They don't use Tom Latimer right at all.
No.
They haven't used Thrillbilly right since the Southern Six. Maybe Murdoch's when they're not involved with Smalls. I mean, they've been dominant tag team champions. I see no need to take the titles off them anytime soon. So you could argue for Murdoch's. Kylie Kenzie Page has done all right with her as a world champion. But what she suffers, Camille, they would at least occasionally bring in kind of big names, or I shouldn't say big. They would occasionally bring in people you knew.
Yeah.
for her to wrestle.
Had
Chelsea,
some name value.
Yeah, Chelsea Green. Well, I was saying the other day, there's a difference between being a star and, people knowing who you are. I would say Chelsea Green's a bigger star now as the longest reigning U.S. women's champion in WWE. No one's held the title longer than her. And, I would say she's probably a bigger star now than she was her first run in WWE. But they had her in. She was known. They had Tyra Valkyrie in. She was known. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but she had Thunder, Rosa just before she won the title.
You said Tyra Valkyrie too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, she had some people that she could wrestle, and that people knew. And I feel like Kylie kind of suffers from lack of that type of competition.
You said Kylie. Did you mean Kenzie or did you mean Kylie?
Kenzie. I feel Kenzie's not had that big world title defense.
Yeah, that's. I think that's true. As we go through more of the matches, we're back in an undisclosed location. Apparently, this is the Aaron Stevens Wrestling Academy or some sort. It looks like that was a boxing ring in the background, but DK, you could tell me for sure or not if that's what it was. It would make sense because there's two guys in the ring standing there, but they weren't taking bumps. They weren't working. They weren't doing nothing. Jeremiah Plunkett, the Mid-American champion, who did a wonderful job making sure that title was seen on camera. God forbid they let the man defend the title on Power, but hey, at least they put him on TV. And much like Tyrus, he was holding the belt, so that means something, right? Aaron Stevens is talking about his plan for taking the sales out of Tom Latimer's, taking the wind out of Tom Latimer's sails by having a piece of dirt, some sort of something that was going to ruin Tom Latimer's career and have the NWA distance themselves from Tom because it's so bad. And I'm just thinking, like, we've heard his history. What else could there be? This, for whatever reason, invites Carson Drake, and he also has is it what rant? What rant? What was it? DK, you said his name earlier. The slime ball, the bigger slime ball. Tommy Rant. There it is. I don't know why I can't remember that. So Tommy Rant.
The ribbon.
Yeah, Tommy Rant and Carson Drake are in the back. And, like DK said, we saw them earlier during the promotional opening of the gym. And besides Tommy Rant being weird, Carson is over the top, laughing. Dad jokes that would make me cringe because I would not tell them to anybody. You trust me more than I trust you about as much as my wife trusts me.
Be glad you didn't watch Exodus Pro.
Yeah, well, I don't. That's probably the best that I didn't. I started to, but then this has been one of those weeks.
It wasn't that good. It wasn't as bad as Power, but it wasn't that good.
Yeah. Anyways, it sounds like Stevens is trying to galvanize this group that he's working with to help him get this world title. He has Jeremiah Plunkett now in his back pocket. He failed to get Carson Drake on board, but he also still has members of Blunt Force Trauma, Carnage, and Damage. So he is kind of doing something here, whether it's creating an actual true faction or just trying to get a way to get an opportunity to win the world heavyweight title. Again, I feel like there's opportunity here, but in this segment, you had Carson Drake and Aaron Stevens, two people who are kind of known for the gift of gab, I guess. A lot of people tell me that Drake is over because his promos are good. I failed to see one yet, but these guys were saying so much without actually, they were speaking so much without saying anything. Kind of messed it up there. I don't know what they were trying to say. We don't know that Stevens offered him money, and then he tells we don't know that Stevens offered Drake money. Drake says, "I don't need your money. I don't need your lack of charisma." Like, that's the one thing that people say Aaron Stevens has is spades, is his charisma. So anyway, this was another opportunity to disappoint. These are failed improv classes. This is worse than dinner theater. I love the idea that they're trying to do something different, but like, can we get multiple takes here? This was not good. And why is this on? Why am I watching this? Why am I watching this? Do you have anything you want to add, DK?
Yeah, why were we watching this? You know what made me sad about this one?
What was it?
I think back to when Damien Sandow was with Miz or whatever, and the way he would, like copy the action that was going on in the ring, and holes in the facial expressions and everything. I mean, the stuff that got him over, despite the fact that WWE was doing nothing to get him over. He was getting himself over with that. And so I think back about all that stuff, and then I watched this and go, who the hell is this guy? This is terrible. Just it wasn't the worst skit on the show. We haven't gotten to that yet. But whereas the Southern Six thing, we said it had potential. I was like, go through this and go, no, there's no potential here. This is just bad. And it's just like, and you keep giving them credit for trying something new. And it's like, man, this is why you only do something once and wait for feedback, because we probably have 3 more episodes of this shit.
The worst part about that too is I actually sent recently, both of you guys, but DK especially, some Ohio Valley wrestling stuff that I was watching, and there's wrestlers like the Aaron Stevens and Paul Burchill and the Pope and
I miss the Pope, by the way.
Yes, me too. And Mikey from the Spirit Squad, his name I can't think of. And the wrestlers that are currently wrestling for the NWA, basically, a lot of the wrestlers that are currently wrestling for the NWA are on this current run of OVW, all the OVW that I'm watching. And that what was done there, if the NWA was doing it, it would be in so much a better place. I don't even mean just copying it move for move. I mean just the style and the way that they were used in their presentation, and every one of those wrestlers was better utilized and knew how to make the most out of themselves. They had somebody who was telling them what to do that knew what they were doing.
And besides, Jim Cornette would yell at them if they didn't do it right.
Huh. Well, I put a candy in my mouth. Next up, we get the first look at Frank. Now, well, Luke, I get that, but I've been watching the show for the last 5 years, and I keep waiting for it to get good.
Maybe if we, smoke crack, it would be.
I should not have put something in my mouth while on the show. So remember when?
Wait! I have a joke on that one. That would really work when we put ourselves on Pornhub, where the advertising rates are much better, by the way, which is why I suggest that.
Sure. Yeah. All right. I don't know what to say to that. So we're back with the Jack Stane Memorial Cup again. To pay homage to Jack Stane is something that I'm all about. Jack Stane was a revolutionary wrestler for the NWA. He was a guy that, in a time where there were heavyweights were far and few in between. Jack Dane epitomized what a heavyweight should look like, what a heavyweight was like. He was a heavy hitter. He had, he had size and strength that most guys on the roster just didn't have. And so, Jack Dane, I think he was truly a heavyweight in a time when there weren't a lot of heavyweights. Now, this version of the NWA, when you've got Trevor Murdoch on the roster, for a while you had Tyrus on the roster, you had Wrecking Ball Legursky, Jay Bradley. I mean, there was a land of giants in the NWA. So this Jack Dane Memorial Tournament, the fact that there are a couple of giants in this matchup, I mean, we know Silas Mason, seeded number 1. I feel like that's the right call. I feel like has a boatload of talent. And in the sense of being a big man like Jack Dane was, absolutely, you have to admit that Silas Mason is that guy. Wrecking Ball Legursky is a true, genuine heavyweight in every sense of the word. And, they gave us a matchup with Maxime Paler. And I'm not Max's biggest fan, but I feel, Max in the past had seemed like somebody who could compete in the men's heavyweight division. And they put Max in the ring with somebody who, again, fits the true definition of heavyweight. But he's also the same guy that we saw James Storm kick his ass. You remember that? He kind of he beat him up. It wasn't even funny. So all of this to say, we get a re-debut of Judeus for whatever reason. And DK, you might not have caught this, but did you recognize who Brandon McCord was?
Actually, no, I did not.
I thought you might not. Now, he is now living in your state, but he used to live in Hollywood adjacent and used to wrestle for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And he's a former Heritage champion.
Oh, really? Who was it?
The Hobo.
Oh, fuck.
So the Hobo made his NWA debut as Brandon McCord, manager extraordinaire, I guess, evidently by way of Billy Corgan, the illegitimate son of Austin Idol, because now that counts as 3 as far as the score that I'm keeping. Jordan Clearwater is 4 if you count that. So Brandon McCord, with no explanation except for the announcers, we don't have like Austin Idol there to present who this guy is. There's no hype up of this at all. It's just, hey, here's a face, and guess what? He's Austin Idol's long lost son. Hey, it's like Perfect Strangers, except for Perfect Strangers had Balky, and Balky was funny. This is neither funny nor international. So Billy gives us another nonsensical statement about Idol went to Sinister Minister and bought out the contract, but because he bought the contract, he didn't buy the name. So we can't call him Judeus anymore. He's Frank, not Frank, Frank Lee or Frank Montano or Frank anything. It's just Frank. And Frank
Maybe
Lee,
they're trying to be frank with us.
Frank Lee would be a much better name, don't you think? Frank Lee, yes. That'd have been great. I digress. He cut the hair, so the look is good. I thought it was a good look, and again, they let him wrestle like the Judeus I used to see wrestling in NWA Anarchy. I feel like he was allowed to be a little bit more aggressive, which is weird because he was in the ring with his former tag team partner. You would think just because that they were former partners that maybe he would take it easy on them. Maybe he would, not be as physical, but that was not the case. This was a much more aggressive Frank than we've ever seen Frank before. And I think what was remarkable about this match is for the first time in a while, Frank looked like a big deal. But conversely, I don't think there's any more mystique about Max the Impaler. I believe it's now time that Max the Impaler exits the heavyweight division. of power and returns to the other division that they were famous in, because this was an opportunity to show us how tough Max is, right? Like, Max just a few weeks ago wrestled another Franks, Tyler Franks, and had a lot of difficulty in a match that in the past they might have dominated, right? But in this instance, that match Max looked very human, and this match Max looked very weak. And you think about a year ago, Max held the women's television title. Max held the men's television title. Max and Judeus were in the Crockett Cup and advancing in the Crockett Cup. And a year later, no titles, no tag team. I mean, I think the Max experiment is done. DK, I want to know what your take is on that.
Yeah, I feel bad for Max.
I did too.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I've said the past couple of weeks that the one thing that you notice is that Max isn't a monster in the ring with guys.
No.
And even hold on just 1 second. Somebody's knocking on my door.
I was like, his dog is even upset. That's how bad it was. Yeah, and I'll let DK pick up when he comes back. But this was, again, what made Max so appealing to the novice, to anyone watching, is when Max got in there with the guys, they were intimidated by Max. When Max was wrestling against the men, Max was holding their own against them. And I fully support the non-binary. I fully support her lifestyle choices. Their lifestyle choices, excuse me. I'm very cool with all of that. But I think, like, week in and week out, there were some of you in our Discord who were saying Max should challenge for the 10 pounds of gold. Why? I'm open to suggestions and I'm open to trying different things, but let's not get carried away here. And now that, Max lost the title to Carson Drake, not without controversy. Carson Drake didn't mud stomp Max to win the title. Carson Drake survived Max to win that title. And on the flip side, Max has been going downhill ever since. The relationship with the Sinister Minister is done. And then Max, on their own, struggled against Tyler Franks and straight up lost to Frank in the Jackson Memorial Tournament. So
not just lost, but this was just above being a squash.
What's the term that Jacob Fatu says? I'm gonna dog walk you.
Yeah,
Max got dog walked, guys.
I mean, this wasn't competitive. This wasn't. Again, like I was saying, I feel bad for Max. Max isn't a monster with the guys. I don't know if they're trying to do one of those spiraling because she doesn't have a manager or whatever.
They don't have a manager.
And but they have not been looking good in the ring. I will say for Frank or Franks or whatever the name is.
Just Frank,
that Frank did what Frank needed to do. Frank went away. Frank learned a new hold, or in this particular case, shaved the head, grew the beard longer, and absolutely most importantly, Frank got their flabby body in shape. This Frank was pretty well stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank had a muscle, and then I think another muscle grew on top of it. Frank looked good. Frank looked like you said, the powerhouse, and not, just a big guy who had muscle under some flab. So Frank did what needed to be done. Hopefully, Frank will be used properly, although I don't have any real faith or confidence that will happen. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Max is leaving, in the sense that Max is done with the NWA, or maybe Max is, I don't know. But they do need to, go away for a while, let us miss them, learn a new hold, and then if they come back, they need to come back into the women's division, because they're a monster in the women's division. They're just another wrestler in the men's.
I'm going to go to a comment here that I liked, but I want to hit a few other ones. Devin Dowling says, "Do you think Max is on their way out?" I don't think so. Right? There's still some fun things that could happen with Max, but Max's priority is always going to be Japan. I'm almost positive that they get paid better in Japan than they would get paid in the NWA. Luthez said, if you're going to be a monster, you should limit yourself to monster shit. Chasing titles and competitive matches is not monster shit. And I couldn't agree more, right? Like, I know a lot of people are going to say, like, Andre the Giant never needed to be world champion to be over. I know that they had that storyline with him and Hogan, but Andre the Giant was over whether or not he was wrestling Hogan or not. He was one of the most over baby faces until they made him heel. And then he was over as one of the most hated heels. He didn't need the title to be important. I'll even say that Undertaker never really needed the title to be over. Undertaker was over because he was the Undertaker. And I feel like the same could be said about Max in their prime with the NWA. I don't feel like Max ever really needed a title. Max was an attraction. And you could have matches where Max beat female competitors or Max beat male competitors, and it should have been more of a spectacle and less of a showcase, right? Should have just been a match to celebrate the attraction that is Max. I feel like they just really missed the ball with Max in their entire run, and I get it that they put Max over. But again, those were both secondary titles, and maybe Max should have been the one to take the belt off of Camille. Maybe Max should have been the one to take the belt off of Kenzie. And instead, we're watching Max get destroyed by their former tag team partner. So again, this wasn't to me a fun match. I thought Max was going to win it, right? Like, I really thought, well, this is Max's toughest test to date. Max will come through, and that kind of hypes up, if it's Thrillbilly and Max in the semifinals, that could be a big deal for the tournament. But no, Max loses. Max lost cleanly. There was very little to no interaction with Brandon McCord. I mean, a couple times he got in Max's face, but not very frequently. And it was really just an ass kicking by Frank. More of the comments. I'm sorry. Luthez. Oh, we got that one. Roswell says Max needs to have a chat with Odinson. The only other wrestler who can relate to another person from the wasteland is Odinson. And Double D says, Roz, I like that. Odinson could have an entire wasteland faction. I'm thinking a little bit differently. This might not be a popular opinion, but what if it was Max and Odinson, similar to Odinson and Paro? Think about it. Sleep on it. Don't make a decision right now.
No.
And they said no. And then Luther says Billy would give Max a trad wife gimmick if he could. I could see the vacuum in the apron now. And the little yellow gloves. Looks like Dexter's mom. That was for you, Jay, and I was hoping you would pop.
I did, but then I was worried Dee Dee was going to come out.
Dee Dee, you idiot. The show ends with Latimer doing like a backstage filming segment, and Burchill runs out and says, "Hey, have you heard the news?" And this is like the most real thing they said. Like Latimer's like, "What? Did something happen with my wife?" At least that was like reasonable. Like, how would he know that Aaron Stevens has some sort of mystery formula on which super serum Tom took to become world champion? It's kind of ridiculous. But Burchill's telling Latimer that he'd have his back, and for one second I thought Burchill and Latimer might make a really good tag team. And then that's all I really got from that segment. DK, what did you think about I believe this is what you thought was the worst segment of the week.
Yes, this was the worst NWA segment of the week.
Okay, fair, yeah.
Yes, this was the worst NWA segment of the week. It was just so. This was back to if third graders wrote the first skit, and kindergartners were responsible for the Aaron Stevens skit. This was two 13-year-old girls showing a classic conversation between themselves. I just didn't know what to think. And it was just bad. Really, really, really bad.
Burchill's Scottish, right?
I don't know. I thought Burchill was English.
English, okay, yeah, he's English. And Latimer's Welsh? Or is he English too?
I thought he was Scottish.
I don't know. I actually didn't pay attention enough. I just know that Joe Henry is Scottish.
Well, don't say his name because he might appear.
I was hoping to help your ratings.
He is English as well. Tom Latimer is English.
Okay, well, they're both English. So they should be a faction just because of their fellow countrymen. And maybe that'll give Burchill something to do. I'm just real quickly off the top of my head, fantasy booking, I guess. And then build Burchill up as somebody that it could eventually turn on Latimer. Maybe cost him a title or start a feud with him for the title or something like that.
Just out of curiosity, are we done with Mondo?
No, because Mondo's next match at Hard Times is against Max the Impaler. So that match, that will tell you a lot about what the NWA is planning to do with Max going forward. Because if Mondo gets the win, then it looks like they're going to be pushing Mondo into something bigger. And if Max gets the win, then maybe they're trying to reboot Max the Impaler. It's hard to tell because Mondo's only had like 2 matches and he's only won one of them.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity to say my childhood is being ruined.
But Kathleen Kennedy's stepping down from Star Wars.
Oh my God.
Look, there's one problem with Kathleen Kennedy stepping down from Star Wars. We can't erase from the memory everything that she's done.
I was thinking that nobody pushed her down instead, but okay.
Well, I was thinking lightsabered her, but sure.
That's not fatal anymore.
Apparently.
Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, I was going to say nothing's fatal anymore in the current Star Wars world. Nobody really dies. If you die, you either come back as a Force ghost or you didn't really die.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Palpatine?
I tried to say Palpatine.
Boba Fett? Maul? And I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
Yeah, everybody who got stabbed by a lightsaber in the last couple of years.
Well,
sorry.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Leia stayed dead.
Who?
Leia.
She didn't have a choice.
Padme stayed dead.
There was talk of bringing her back.
They actually are allegedly bringing her back in the next Obi-Wan series, but it'll probably be more of a flashback. But there is talks about bringing in Padme back.
Oh, there was talks that she didn't really die.
What a horrible mom. She just bailed on the twins. See ya. Oh, man.
I guess the concept was that she went into hiding to keep Anakin from finding, or that if she died and she died with the kids, which was the presentation, they made at the funeral, then he went and looked for her or the kid.
See, unfortunately, the comics actually did not play that up. So if you use the auxiliary media, the Padme is most definitely dead.
So,
but by the way, my favorite movie is with who's Padme's actress again? I forgot her name. Natalie Portman. I like The Professional. That was such a good movie.
The what?
The Professional.
I don't think I've seen that.
Where she was training to be a hip person because she was with the French guy.
So that gentleman.
Oh, boy, I have seen that, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I like that movie. That was a very good movie.
That was a good movie.
I like V for Vendetta too.
I heard she was good in Black Swan, but that's just not my type of movie.
Yeah, I don't care about ballerinas.
Do you know what I hate about Star Wars Extended Universe and whatever they call the Disney universe?
It's
that they just make shit up to fit whether it works or not. Like my favorite is when they want to say that Psycho Diaz actually created the clone army, that he was the one really responsible for it. When in the movie they make it very clear that he was dead before that happened.
No, they never made it clear he was dead before that happened. They made it clear he was dead before the
clones were ready.
The clone army was retrieved. He is actually responsible through the help of Darth Bane under his other alternate name. I can't think of his other gimmick name, but he is responsible for the clone army because he had Force visions and he had visions.
In the movie, Obi-Wan goes, I thought he died before that, to which they were looking at each other kind of like, yeah, there's something weird going on here. So
I've seen the movie recently. I don't think I remember it that way. I might be wrong, but they did say that he is no longer alive, but
the whole thing was it couldn't have been him because he was dead. That was the idea behind the thing. How could it have been him?
Because they even made sure in the Clone Wars television show, they even brought that out that it was definitely Sifo Dyas.
Well, I know that's what the secondary things, the extended universes and all that have made. Of course, they all say that Plagueis was still alive in the first movie.
Plagueis, yeah, Plagueis is. The books came out recently where Plagueis was alive. He was killed after Palpatine took over the Senate. Then he came back and killed Plagueis because Maul technically was never truly his apprentice. He was a Sith assassin, so he was never truly Palpatine's apprentice. So that's why the role
in the movie that there's only two Sith, and despite the fact in the movie that he is the apprentice and he's called an apprentice, they decided that because everybody wants Plagueis to be the one that made Anakin. So the only way they can do that is to keep him alive longer than they should have. That's all. That's why I hate everything but the movies.
Well, even the movies, they contradict each other. Lots of the prequels contradict the original trilogy. I'm not even talking about the new stuff.
Well, if you just look in the original trilogy, the idea of the Force in Star Wars is more like an Eastern mysticism. The Force will be with you. The Force, all the Rebels groups were saying that. It wasn't really till the second movie that it was like, oh, there's a select group that had it.
Can you tell we really don't want to talk about the NWA, by the way? I found an opportunity to get distracted intentionally on that one.
Yeah, it was a good thing. Well, it was either that or talk about the boards with nails and AEW.
Oh, well, I mean, we do have a signature live event. I was planning on talking about that.
Oh, okay. You can talk about that.
By the way, Double D says your Jedi talk is greater than talking about power. You're not.
You will like our Jedi Talk podcast.
Next week, featuring DK and Jane, it'll be the Jedi podcast here on the Alliance Guys Podcasting Network.
You will listen, like, comment, subscribe, and share.
That's right. So I'm not.
You will buy some Dubby. You will buy some replica title belts.
No, that's Trophy Smack. Replica title belts is like 10 years ago.
You will buy some Trophy Smack. Replica title belts will once again sponsor us.
maybe if we get going. So look, I don't know match orders here, but I just can't imagine that there'd be a match more opening than this one. I really like Spencer Slade. Hunter, I don't hate him as much as DK does, but I feel like they're finally listening in to some degree, and that the reason why this match is happening because you're feeding Spencer Slade. So inevitably, when he wins the World Junior Heavyweight Championship, he will have had a solid win-loss record to get there. DK, what is your prediction for this one?
It better be Slade. I don't have a prediction. I have a threat to what will happen if it's not Slade.
It's a spoiler alert. Jaden, I mean, I know that you are a bigger fan of Spencer Slade than you are Hunter.
I don't know who Hunter is. Who's this dude?
He's the one that makes me sad.
Apparently, he's one of the Page sisters' boyfriends, or maybe both of them. I'm not sure what they were indicating in the last few weeks on TV.
Oh, well. Okay. Can he convince them both to take those rings out?
Probably not.
No, you really can't convince a woman to do anything.
I kind of get the feeling that they're the ones in charge.
Yeah, you're probably right. They probably have. They're probably wear the pants. Anyway, I hope Slade just absolutely destroys them and just suplexes them, double leg takes down and chokes them out. Whatever Slade does, just does it well. Yes.
Is it okay to have a World Junior Heavyweight who takes people to Suplex City?
Yes.
All right, then that's what I want with this. And again, this is no particular match order. I just things that I don't think are main event stuff or mid-card stuff. The Temple of Dumb. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Baron Von Storm and Brandon Beretta taking on what appears to be, and I don't know, is that Sal Renaro or is that somebody else?
That's Stone Rockwell.
That's Stone. Is that really his name, or are you being silly?
I think
that's what it says on his jacket.
I think it's somebody from Exodus.
Okay. I thought
maybe Exodus.
You're right. It's Stone Rockwell and Beastman, and I know that they've made an appearance, but I honestly thought that was Sal Renaro the first 6 times I saw that graphic.
Well, I see why.
He does look like it's not me, right? Like, look. I'm not crazy, right? Because
the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog.
There's some resemblance there, right? I'm not crazy.
Actually, I think it looks more like Butch Miller.
Okay.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Am I wrong?
And why is Brandon Beretta teaming with Baron Von Storm?
I don't know.
Couldn't they get Elon Musk to team with him instead?
Couldn't they have gotten Manimal if they wanted a guy chewing on a bone? By the way, shout out to the 300-pound Manimal. I know he's not watching this, but he just recently had his final match. I'm hoping maybe we could talk to him at some point on the Alliance Blog podcast, but Manimal was a friend of the show. Had some great memories talking with him and Kevin Frazier at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Both those guys have been on the podcast a handful of times. But Manimal was a force to be reckoned with, wrestling in the Southwest, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. Did a regular loop coming out from Texas to Southern California. And although wasn't the world champion or anything, had a pretty good career, 20 plus years in the sport of pro wrestling before hanging it up. So shout out to Manimal. He walked out on his terms, and I'm proud of the guy. And that's not Manimal in the poster.
Okay, next match.
Now this is okay. This is another one that I'm like, why? Who is this for? Who is this for? The last time we saw Tyler Franks, he had a hell of a match with Max. Actually made Max look human. I wouldn't mind seeing him wrestle a legitimate junior heavyweight match. I don't know what the hell we got here, guys. How did we get to this point?
It's a, hey, who didn't we book yet? Okay, let's throw them in a 6-man.
Is this what the fans want?
Well, knowing the NWA fans and the fact that they cheered question mark and all the other stupid stuff that they seem to like, and they want Max to get a world title shot, they probably do want this garbage because that's all they know how to know with garbage. Once you're fed garbage so much, you start liking the taste of it. And I think that's the problem with the NWA fans right now.
Let me show you some of the other matches, though. I think look. This card has some good matches. I will say that. I genuinely believe it, but I don't think that that's one of them. I'm not familiar with one of these guys. The other guy I'm very familiar with. Damian Fenrir versus Crazy Steve. This one,
I like Crazy Steve.
I hear that about him, that a lot of people like him, and he is going to be making his return to the National Wrestling Alliance. I believe someone said that Damian Fenrir has appeared on Power, but I just don't remember him if he did. But I feel like that's a very interesting matchup. Crazy Steve, I know that he has had time in TNA wrestling, but I believe he's a free agent currently. So it looks like maybe he'll be spending some time with the NWA. DK, what are your thoughts on Crazy Steve, and what are your thoughts on this match?
I'm not the biggest Crazy Steve fan.
Okay.
So
it's too small?
No, just I've never gotten into his work.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even the weird gimmick or the makeup or whatever. Just never have gotten into his work. I've never just thought he was that good.
Never have I ever.
He's not terrible, but people sometimes talk like, "Oh man, he's so good, he's so whatever." So it's like, I don't see it anyway. And I don't know who the other guy is, so I mean, I can't say I'm looking forward to this or don't want to see it. It's just a match that's been announced.
It's Crazy Steve, who I can make money with, and who is better, I think, than DK is given credit for, versus the guy at least looks like a wrestler.
Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to that. Looking at this, like, these guys both look like wrestlers, and just compare contrast. Which one do you think is going to be the better match, just based on the poster? That's not rhetorical. What do you guys think will be the better match?
I would hope it was Crazy Steve and Fender.
It better be Crazy Steve and the other guy.
Sure.
But then again, I also think that's a low bar considering the 6-man team. So
sure, and look, that was done on purpose. Like, obviously there's a disparity on the card. You've got some matches that actually look pretty decent, and we don't know anything about these guys. There's no real backstory for NWA fans, and then you got the match that I just showed you, which looks it doesn't look very good to me at all. The other matches that are on this card, we know that we will have a NWA national title defense. Mims taking on Wrecking Ball Legursky. Now, this is another thing, I think this is going to be a good match, but I want them to have a good story of how they got here, because the last time we saw Wrecking Ball Legursky in the NWA, he lost to Kerry Morton in the opening round of the Jack Stain Memorial Tournament. So, like, I want to see him either win 2 or 3 matches before this match airs, or winning a battle royal, or somehow, some way, this match makes sense, given that he doesn't have any victories as a singles competitor since probably 22. Make this make sense, because I want to like this match. I just don't like the fact that we know Wrecking Ball doesn't have the wins or losses to go with it. DK? Jaden? Somebody? Anybody? Nobody?
Well, hopefully, Wrecking Ball does a good job, because he's going to be wrestling on a future Doug event. Maybe he could use this. Maybe he'll be national champion then, even though the event he is on, he can't defend the NWA title unless Billy Corgan wants to sign him to the NWA to Dr. Zirconium.
Got it. Understood.
But anyway, it should be a good match, and I kind of want Wrecking Ball to win and be new champion.
I wouldn't hate that. And see, the problem with the NWA when they had Tyrus, we'll call it the Tyrus era, it felt like he had such a stranglehold on the television title, and the national title didn't feel like it was being really like moving around. You know, Adonis had, like, he was strangling the title for so long. Murdoch had it for a while. You know, the convergence, I think, from the national title to the world title seemed to be greater than the TV title of the world title. But it just feels like the NWA has become obsessed with making sure that every champion has a good long reign. When, like, you know, thinking back to when they had Ricky Starks, they weren't afraid to take the belt off of him. He won the tournament, and then they put the belt on Zicky Dice. And I don't think that was a long-term booking decision. I think COVID slowed all of that down. I think the plan was that Ricky Starks would get that title back again. And obviously the world shut down and things changed. But there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with Wrecking Ball Legursky winning this match, and at the next pay-per-view or the next TV taping, Mims winning the title back. It's the whole any given Sunday or Saturday, depending on what day it is. This should be a sport where you don't know what's going to happen. You know, if a world champion has been around for a while, it's usually a sign that they're going to lose the title. There's no. I just would like to see the belts move a little bit more. I'm not saying hot shot them 24/7, but like not everyone needs to have a 400-day reign as champion. Am I right, DK, or am I wrong? Tell me what's up.
No, you're right. I don't like hot-shotting titles, but one of the problems is the way things have been going recently. It's like Mims has held the title for a while.
Yeah.
But then again, how many times has he actually defended the title?
It's a great question that I'm going to find the answer for.
And
that's what I do.
And he's not really on a lot. And I don't think he's defending in the territories. Although your buddy Carson Drake defended the TV title in the territories.
Real quick, Mims has had a total of 2 title defenses according to Cage Match, which sounds about right. Now we'll know he'll have one at Shockwave, and he'll probably have some at the TV tapings, and he'll probably have, you know, I would say probably 2 title defenses before we get to Hard Times. But yeah, he defeated Mr. Grimm at Looks at Kill. He defeated Burchill back at Salwen, and he has yet to defend the title in 2025.
Yeah, so which I guess he did at Shockwave, but
right, it just hasn't made TV yet. When I say that, it's kind of facetious, because it's like, we just got Overlooks at Kill like 2 weeks ago, and that was in February. So the matches happened in 24, but they aired in February.
I think it's funny. There was a discussion on the Discord where people were complaining that the NWA wasn't being given enough coverage, I guess, by the wrestling news sites or whatever. And it's like, well, that's their own damn fault, because they don't do press releases. They don't release results. They don't, and they take pride in the fact that nobody talks about them. They think, see what great loyal fans we have. Nobody talks about us.
Yeah, and that's problematic too.
And so somebody wants the Discord link, Jay.
Well, and look, I mean, think of it this way: the dirt sheets, the internet, you know, the PW Insider, the Sean Ross Scott or whatever his name is, I can never get right. Look, they talked about Natty Neihart coming to Crockett Cup, but you didn't follow it up with anything else that was like worthy of talking about. Sorry, some podunk promotion in Albuquerque, New Mexico isn't gonna draw the ire of a lot of internet readers, right? And like we had Jaden help me out with his name because I can't remember. I think it was Frank from PWI, Frank Quera.
Frank Cruda. Yeah, I miss him.
And he came on here, and he was such a great dude to be on here. And one of the things he said was like, look, I love Scorpio Sky, but Scorpio Sky isn't selling magazines. And that was back when Scorpio Sky was, you know, still just kind of a Southern California Championship Wrestling from Hollywood guy before he even made it to in ROH or in AEW. And there was a lot of truth to that. And he said, you know who sells magazines? John Cena, CM Punk. You know, okay. I mean, he wasn't wrong. And so looking back, like the dirt sheets need something to sizzle with. And right now, there isn't a person in the NWA who's worthy of sizzling over. I mean, look, I feel like Silas Mason could be that guy, but they start and stop him too much that I feel like it's objectively affected his national presence. And so anyway, I guess all of that to say, I didn't realize I still had this graphic up. All of this to say that I think the NWA needs to do something worthy of the sheets covering it.
JRC_legacy on Reddit covers them though. And Marky D that's Marky D 123.
Yeah.
But honestly, seriously, I'm joking around with that. Give them something to cover, and they will cover it. The reason nobody's talking about it is because nobody cares about it. When they do talk about it, they usually have a negative connotation. That's why even us who are trying to cover it and try to do something as positively as possible fail miserably at it because it's what they give us.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously, I mean, who's covering the NWA right now? It's a few sporadic people on YouTube, and the number one source for news and entertainment for the National Wrestling Alliance, the alliance-wrestling.com and the Alliance Guys podcast. And I would assume the other Alliance Guys would cover it more if it was in Canada.
Yeah, they don't cover it either.
So yeah. And what's his name? Who just has a podcast too? A buddy of a show. I can't think of his name. I just thought of it until I went to go say it. Guy's brain damage sucks. Don't hit chair shots. He's a friend of our show. He has his own.
Rick Del Sano.
Rick Del Sano's one. Okay, he's not the one I was thinking of, but he's definitely one. Does he cover the NWA?
I think he covers some of it.
Roswell.
Oh yeah, Roswell. Yeah, Roswell's in the chat.
Yeah, he covers the NWA, and they should be glad about any kind of coverage they should get because that's they're not giving us anything worth covering.
Yeah, and look, I'm surprised that the NWA didn't make a bigger deal about Tom defending the title and Maple Leaf Pro. I mean, they might have retweeted what was being posted by Maple Leaf Pro, but like again, they have these shows. Go ahead, DK. I'm sorry.
No, I said, did they?
I think I don't know. Maybe they didn't, but like I'm not saying that they're obligated to give free advertising away, but would it have been a great idea for somebody, maybe Maple Leaf, to call Billy or Billy to call Maple Leaf and say, hey, Do you want to advertise your pay-per-view on our TV program, considering you're featuring our World Heavyweight Champion in the main event? I don't know. It just...
Honestly, if I was in charge of the NWA and I was in charge of getting the word out there and this was happening, I would have had Billy Corgan there.
Yeah.
I would have had him,
now,
maybe not on commentary for how bad he is, but I would have had him something.
In Billy's defense, his wife just delivered a baby, and I don't know how close she was to having the baby a week ago, but, you know, when you have a pregnant wife, you maybe don't want to leave for that. But
okay, but there's other things too. Like he could have done a quick vignette wishing Latimer luck and, you know, tell him about to make the NWA proud. They could have had
just
Latimer,
saying the history of the title.
What was that?
Just giving the history of the title.
Yeah. Maybe even the history of the title in Canada or the former Maple Leaf promotion or something.
Yeah.
Maybe had Burchill there in his corner, or something, you know, to add more to the NWA to make it something bigger.
I was about
There's
to
so
say
many things
Aaron
they could have done to capitalize on this, and just like they don't capitalize on Billy Corgan properly, they don't capitalize on the rare opportunity somebody gives NWA some positive spotlight.
This would have been a good time, like had Aaron Stevens not been his opponent at this event. That would have been a great time to have Aaron Stevens be there and kind of be maybe your on-screen face of the NWA. If this ever, you know, if this is ever another thing where they might bring in NWA talent, you could have Aaron Stevens be like the, you know, pseudo manager representative of the NWA or something along those lines, just to kind of tie it in together. And plus, you know, if they decide to use him as a talent, anyway, I guess we're putting way more thought into this than anyone from the NWA has.
Again, I'll probably get fired quickly, but I will sign a big money contract to actually help you guys do some stuff. Look, I'm not an ass kisser. I'm a kind of an ass, but I want the NWA to be successful. And you might not like what I have to say, but you'll definitely know I'm doing it to not to be an asshole. That's just an extra byproduct of it. But because I want the best for the NWA still, even though I know I'm not going to get it, I still want it. I want it now. I'm broke as all.
I want the world.
And honestly, when I say big money contract, it doesn't have to be that big, honestly.
Let me get to some of these matches because we're getting late in the night here. We did mention Mondo and Max as also on the card. We also mentioned the champs will be defending against Tiffany Nieves, Miss Star. What we didn't talk about is the return match between Brian Idol and Silas Mason. So guess what? Spoiler alert: who didn't win the Dane Event Memorial Tournament? Sorry to ruin it for you guys, but that's not Jack Stane. Excuse me, that's not Silas Mason.
Maybe Silas wrestles twice.
I mean, sure, it's a possibility, but that's Kerry Morton on the left, and that is I don't know, Zion. Oh God, wouldn't that be awful? All right, and then other matches on the card: the number one contenders match for the Women's World Championship at 77. Not the Crockett Cup at 77. You got Natalia Markova and Kylie Page. I'm sure either one of them would be great in a match against Natty Neidhart. And we also have the Slime Balls challenging Murnox for the NWA World Tag Team titles in a ladder match. That is a match that I think favors the Slime Balls because I don't think seeing Knox or Murdoch climb a ladder is something that's going to happen. They're too damn big. What kind of ladder is going to support Mike Knox?
One of those ones they use on a fire truck, maybe?
Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me?
Could you hear me when I said?
Yeah, the fire truck, a crane, a forklift. Look, and they're big guys. They're big all over. It's like I don't know how a guy like that would even fit on a ladder.
Scaffold, wherever they threw Grimes off of.
And then also in the main event, we have Carson Drake cash. It says he will cash in his lucky 7. So spoiler alert, He ain't losing any time on TV. See, this is another issue with the NWA. Like, we will not see the Crockett Cup or the hard times. We will not see hard times until probably closer to May or June. And there's spoilers galore in this thing. DK?
Yeah, well, big surprises.
I mean, I know card is subject to change, right? We know that, but they're not changing that card.
I mean, I do think like the Kylie versus Markova is probably what those stupid little skits are supposed to be building to. That, you know, Kylie wants to prove that she can be a champion or the champion or whatever. And so that's how she ends up in her match with Markova. That is my guess of following a logical conclusion, which, again, if you follow logical conclusions, you would have had the Money Birds lose. So, I don't know.
So that's your hard times preview. You know, come back in about 6 or 7 weeks and we'll tell you what we thought of the show. But again, you know, there are some matches on there that are interesting, and I do feel like, you know, some of these matches will not be interesting. All in all, you'll definitely get your money's worth if you watch it on the X. That's pretty much going to do it for us tonight.
I have one quick question for you, Jay. One quick question.
Yeah.
And then I'm done for the night.
Okay.
Is the fact that almost all the matches from the shows are now making it to YouTube as just the match proof that X isn't doing much for them? Yeah, they're kind of getting released like within a week.
I guess I haven't really paid attention, but based on what you said, I would theorize that there's more money to be made with more content being out there. And again, I don't know what kind of money you're making on X because it's not a platform that was designed to just be a video, watch the video and get paid. It's all about engagement. So people actually have to get in there and post about it. But the people that I find posting the most about the NWA are the talent involved. So it's kind of like, you know, are they getting compensated? Are they making enough money to produce the show? And the answer is no. There's no way they're making enough money to produce the show. This isn't, the NWA has never looked cheap under the Billy Corgan era. It doesn't look cheap, which means it's expensive to produce. So there's no way that they're making enough money on X to cover the cost of the shows. And you know, I've heard whispers and rumors that there wasn't enough money in CW to cover the production costs either. I don't know. That's not fact. It's just whispers. Be that as it may, you know, Billy still is producing this content at a high end, and maybe they're just trying to recoup some of those losses. If you put those matches on YouTube as one match versus 1 hour-long video or 45-minute long video, you know, they'll probably get more market penetration and people watching a single match as opposed to watching a 45-minute show. So maybe it's just a way to earn additional income.
Well, if they're trying to get eyes out, it's a smart idea anyway.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I really feel like it should just be on all platforms, any video distribution platform that's out there. You know, Facebook, Vimeo, whatever it's called.
Venmo.
Yeah. YouTube, Twitch, Kick. You know, even cutting down the matches and airing them on TikTok. You know, I think get anywhere that you can be seen. And
I heard Pornhub has really good conversion rates when it comes to advertising.
I have heard that as well recently.
Yes, by the way.
I understand it doesn't even have to be porn.
By the way, we're looking for stepmothers and stepdaughters to be on this show when we make our Pornhub debut. So if you have anybody who wants to volunteer, let me know, because I have a dishwasher they can get stuck in.
One addition to that: good-looking stepmothers, stepdaughters.
Yeah, please. I have a dishwasher they can get stuck in, or a dryer.
Yes.
What is Rumble, Luthez? I don't know what Rumble is. But yeah,
he's one of the tapes from Transformers.
It's been too long of a day for me not to laugh at that.
Well, I think it was Sean, had asked on Discord, why are they still doing these 45-minute shows? And it was like, the only thing we can come up with is that they're trying to show their television ready. But I do not ask me to try and explain why Billy Corgan does what Billy Corgan does. And don't ask Billy Corgan because I don't think he knows either.
Should we get on Rumble?
Let's get ready to rumble.
What was that website that one guy promoted the NWA show in Philly on?
What?
The one dude, you remember he was hyping it up on something that had nothing to do with wrestling's web page or something like that.
Yeah. It was his it was a message board, but it wasn't like even a wrestling message board.
It was like for a video game or something, not even a good one. It's like the Dead by Daylight message board, but something.
Huh. Well, something like this that all I really have to say is, Jay, get us out of here.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I got to be honest, I don't know how you stood on as long as you guys did. We do appreciate you, though, hanging out. Of course, we'll be back on Tuesday with another pre-party. I may have a co-host. I may not. Of course, can't forget about Sunday. The other Alliance guys will be on the stream talking about all things pro wrestling. And then we'll be back Wednesday night exclusively on Spotify. You'll hear the interview I did with Ray Rosas. That's also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find it. And then we'll be back next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you enjoyed this podcast, we really would appreciate a like or a thumbs up or a subscription or a follow. However you're watching us, however you can keep up to date with us, we'd appreciate that. You can find us on all social medias at the Alliance Blog. But before we say goodnight, we didn't talk about the Force Fan Fest out in New Jersey.
Oh, the Nerd Force Fan Fest. It was a lot of fun. Fans definitely don't like Dave Dahl, as if you watch the video, they say it multiple times. But then again, once you meet him, you would hate him too. And it was a lot of fun. We can't wait. We're going to be doing other things soon. Stay tuned because there's some stuff coming on we're working on. Also, I'd like to say a special shout out to Homicide. I think he was having his last match tonight. He's retiring after tonight. And he's teaming up with an absolute piece of crap to take on Mike Santana and Alpha Jr. And it's his last match. So former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, former NWA World Tag Team Champion Homicide. Sending him the best wishes.
Absolutely. Former World Junior Heavyweight Champion and a very I guess it says a lot about who you are as a person when your contemporaries have nothing but wonderful and kind things to say about you. So thanks for everything, Homicide, and appreciate you. But I guess that's going to do it, right? Nothing else? Anything else?
Nope. Let's go home.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you as soon as I find the exit screen at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.